The living Spirit Almighty is within me now. Spirit is the sustaining principle of my life. I open my mind to His influx. I open my consciousness to His inflowing. I open my heart to its love. That's from this thing called You by Ernest Holmes. The Spirit within is God. The Spirit within is Almighty. Spirit is the life-sustaining principle. And so today we will open our minds, hopefully, open our minds even wider than before to the influx of your consciousness, of this conscious knowing that there is a power for good, and that power is flowing in and through and as each and every one of us. So bring our awareness to it. This influx influences our consciousness. Truly, every one of us, there is a call. For each one of us, there is a call. There is something within us that is calling us to be deeper, to be more than what we are. A deep longing, a longing of the soul, to connect with, to commune with something so much greater, so much more powerful. Sometimes we don't have the words. We're just lost with this longing of belonging. It's really a longing for belonging. And that's why the communities like Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center are here. So I remember, like in 1990, I decided I had this longing, and it decided for me in my heart. I remember it was Christmas morning, Christmas afternoon. And everyone was there, families there, gifts there, everything was great, but there was something in me that knew that something was missing. So I tried to go to a church because I didn't know anything about New Thought or about Buddhism or anything, and the door was locked. That was a sign from the universe right there. So I prayed for 2 years to the Holy Spirit. You know, there was Father, Son, and coming from a background, this is what I knew to pray to. And in 2 years, I went out with a person that I never went out with before or after, and we went to a place where they were discussing science of mind. Ernest Holmes, that's what this is, Ernest Holmes. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know this existed. And you know, what really sold me was it felt right. Everything I was reading by Ernest Holmes just felt right. There is an innate yearning at the depth of our being to connect with, commune with life. I'm just going to throw them there. With life. I didn't have it. Okay, so let me start. There is an innate yearning within us to connect with life, to connect with community, to be in a spiritual community. That was the important thing, because I would find communities that they weren't necessarily spiritual, but, you know, I did study martial arts for 30 years because it was a community. But what I was longing for was a spiritual community, and I'm so very pleased that it's been 30 years now, and I am so happy with these teachings and how they have taught me, and I know most of you, how to live life. And today we're going to dive into what we are, who we are, and mysticism. We're going to dive into that mysticism. It can be easy to get distracted from our divine self, our relationship with a higher power, with God, with all the stuff that's going on in the world, the circumstances, the experiences, everything that's going on. But to, at the same time, be able to have this relationship with a higher power. If we desire to experience true peace, true prosperity, and a sense of deep contentment and happiness in our life, then That relationship is so very important. If we desire to feel that longing within our hearts, we must find our connection to Source. We must move in ways of the mystic. So that statement could be a little offsetting to some, because I'm saying that each and every one here has the capacity and the capability innately to be a mystic. And you might think, yes, I want to feel that longing. But mystics are saints, exalted ones. They are holy men and women, people that live up on a mountain and meditate all the time. And that's not me. That's not me. But that's a misperception, and we all need to know that. We are mystical beings. We are spiritual beings having this human experience, but at the same time, we have the capability through awareness and openness to be mystics. Holmes in Science of Mind wrote this: a mystic is not a mysterious person, but is one who has a deep inner sense of life and of his unity with the whole. A mystic is one who intuitively perceives truth and without mental process, which is our gyrations in our mind, figure it out, arrives at a spiritual realization. He tells us the mystic senses the atmosphere of God. The mystic sense reveals the greater truth and knows that infinite as a divine being. It is still personal to all who believe in his presence. And then we have Neville Goddard, who wrote in his book, Faith is Your Future. If you've never heard of him, he's an incredible New Thought writer. He wrote this: consciously claim yourself to be that which you seek. Appropriate the consciousness of that which you see, and you too will know the statue of a true mystic. And isn't that what we're doing when we say things like, the spirit within me is God? The living Spirit Almighty is within me now. The Spirit is a sustaining principle in my life. I open my mind to its influx. I open my consciousness to its inflowing. And I open my heart to its love. Rabbi David Cooper, in his book, God is a Verb, wrote that whenever he sat down with holy men and women, whether they were Buddhist monks or Native American shamans or Catholic priests or rabbis, they shared the same mystical insight and experiences. They all said the same thing in a different way. And yes, different focus for different times, different cultures, and different people, but they were all the same. It came down to the same. And the message, the deep message that each of these teachers spoke about was really quite simple. It's not complicated. It is that we each have something profound within us, and that all that we must do, is to awaken to it. But that's the truth. Because once you awaken to that indwelling presence, you don't usually fall back into the dreamland to sleep. Come alive to that God self within us. In roughly 500 BCE, there was a man named Siddhartha Gautama who was walking the earth, doing holy work. He was astounding people with his mere presence. So they asked, not who are you, but what are you? Are you an angel, they asked? No, he said. Are you a god then? No, he replied. I am simply one who is awake. And that became known as The definition of the awakened one was Buddha. The word Buddha means awakened one. It's when we wake up to the presence of so much good within us, so much. And it really is that simple. But we try to complicate it. We just complicate it because that's our human self, with our thoughts and with everything that's going on. Ernest Holmes recognized this when he said in his textbook that we regularly try to make a riddle out of simplicity. It's got to mean so much more. It doesn't have to mean so much more. We just need to awaken to the truth within us, and we know when we awaken to it because we can feel the presence, which is beyond words. Who do you think you are? You are spirit. You are spirit in human form, having this human experience. You are the activity of God expressing as you. Every experience in life is an opportunity to take the steps that lead toward fulfillment, feeling fulfilled, and knowing that we have this glorious potential within us to do and be whatever we desire to do or be. Essentially, mysticism recognizes that God is in all, and that it is the practice of seeing, sensing, feeling, and experiencing God within and without. It is the experience of letting God guide and direct and inspire all of us. We call this intuition. And when we start learning how to listen to that intuitive self, that's when all the decisions just flow, and they're wonderful, wonderful outcome. It's usually coming from the heart and gut area, more intelligence, much more intelligence. We are all natural mystics when we get out of our heads and into our hearts. And then we will be drawn to deeper and deeper levels of being. The Buddha said, "Let your mind become clear, clear as a forest pond." And I want to use this metaphor of a still forest pond to take us to that mystical place, if you'd like to go with me. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if you like. Just do a quick but a deep, I think, meditation. So take a couple of deep breaths with me. In our forest pond, there are 5 levels. You are going to be slowly dropping a pebble into the pond, and watch it descend the 5 levels. Level 1 is the surface. On the surface of this pond, it is not very still. On the surface, there are all kinds of disturbances. The water is churned up by the wind, pelted by the rain, frozen by the cold temperatures. Thawed by the warm temperatures, leaving dirt and debris littered on the surface. All the disturbances of the pond are visible at this level. The surface of your mind is also where all activity, all disturbances exist. We might call this level the chatter level. At this level, 60,000 or more thoughts a day breeze across your mind. Breathe that in. And of course, this is where the ego lives, with all of its hurts, upsets, and judgments. But you know, just because the service is being whipped around with all this activity, it doesn't mean that this activity is going on below. So let us drop our rock even deeper, allow it to go even deeper to level 2, just below the surface. The disturbances have little impact. The storm may still be above, but its presence is not felt the same way here. Likewise, when you go below the surface of your mind, you leave the egoic chatter behind. Here, the constant entering and exiting of thoughts is replaced by a different kind of thinking. You have more control of the thinking process here. Though you are still a long way from the silence of the deep, but here, your thinking is more focused. As you sit, you may still find your thoughts are now analyzing. Those silent comments you make as you access your progress or lack of, even as you proceed with this meditative process, just go back to your pebble and seeing it falling below the second level, leaving your analyzing mind behind. In level 3, the pebble now is well below the surface of your mind. Feel the chatter lessening, as well as the need to analyze anything. Allow your mind to see the flow of how things are all connected and held together at this level. Begin to experience more of your spiritual nature. Just breathe that in. At this quiet level below the surface, accept that people are unique and that you may not understand how and why everyone behaves the way they do, including yourself. But here, there is no need to analyze. It's much more rewarding to just surrender, let go to the flow, and feel this flow of acceptance, followed by gratitude. As you surrender to the flow, the pebble drops even deeper to that fourth level of stillness. You are now getting to that place where you are actually experiencing the shutting down of the dialogue. In this space, thoughts begin to disappear as you sink into pure awareness Notice the silence of awareness as fewer thoughts swim through. As your mind becomes quieter, you might notice joy and begin to sparkle a little. And as the great mystic Teilhard de Chardin once said, joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. At the fourth level, below the surface of your mind, just begin to experience joy. Begin to experience the presence of this divine energy. And yet, there's still one more level to which our pebble is going to drop. Level 5, the field of all possibilities. This is the final resting place for our pebble. This place is beyond the mere quieting of the mind. Here is a place within where you empty your mind of all thoughts and experience the stillness. This place is hard to describe in words, but rather than focusing on any thought, put your inner awareness on the space that exists between the thoughts. It is the field of all possibilities. There are no distractions here, no separation, only consciousness, pure consciousness, merged into one moment of silence. So when you're ready, you just open your eyes. If you like, keep them closed. Ernest Holmes tells us, all of the great mystics have agreed that the soul is on the pathway of experience, that it is of self-discovery. It is on its way back to its Father's house, and that every soul will ultimately reach its heavenly home. So here at Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center is a good beginning, a good reminder that we are so much more than our thoughts. We are beings of light. That's what we are. We are beautiful beings of light, and everything that we can dream of is an absolute possibility. It is a calling of the soul to express itself uniquely and beautifully. So it is.